Okay, so today is December 9th, 2024. My name is Lana Wing, and I'm here with Miss Jun Shu on behalf of the Houston Asian American Archives at Rice University. If you could please state your full name and where and when you were born.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jun Su. Last name is spelled XU, and I was born on February 10th, 1984.
Could you say where as well?
Where? Oh, I was born in Canton, China.
Okay.
Guangzhou, also known as Guangzhou, China.
Okay, thank you. And how would you describe the household you grew up in, and who did you live with?
I grew up in a traditional Chinese household with my grandparents, my mother, father, and also my uncles, aunts, and my cousins. So we grew up in an environment I would want to say quite traditional, but we still it's in a very family setting. I grew up because I'm the only child. However, because I grew up with my cousins, we spend a lot of time together. So it's a I would say rather family-oriented environment.
It sounds like you have a really big family. Yeah. And what were your parents' occupations? What jobs did they have?
Before they came to United States, they were jade sculptors. So they sculpt out jades into figures, into ornaments or any decorating items, and they actually also make big sculptures like ships, like 2 meter long ships and things. Yes, yes,
Oh,
and yeah, things like that. And they make one of those very ornated jade balls that you can rotate inside, and each layer has like decorations. I think the maximum that they could do was like 9 layers.
yeah. So what were some of the values that your parents emphasized in your upbringing?
I would want to say family, the value of family, um, the respect of to the elders, respect to other people. Um, I think those are the things that they emphasize the most, and also and pursue one's happiness. I think that's something new.
No, yeah, that's really nice. I think it's good that they emphasize like pursuing happiness. I think that's like a really good value. And I saw that on your pre-interview form that you like are Buddhist. Did you grow up practicing Buddhism and do you continue to practice Buddhism today? And if so, like how do you practice Buddhism and what aspects do you practice?
I grew up with Buddhism. I wanted to say, our family not only they pray to Buddha, but also they pray to God. You know, the Chinese God, right? And it's quite it's like a fusion. I would say it's like a Taoism slash Buddhism at the same time. I would wanted to say they really respect nature in the sense that nature becomes spirit, right? Because in the Chinese gods, not that everybody like there's a deity or God in every aspect of life. There's God for earth, there's God for heaven, there's God for the trees, you know. So I think they really I would want to say they respect to the nature instead of like really God. However, after I came to United States, I was seeking something more spiritual. So I became a Buddhist myself, and I continue to practice Buddhism in my daily life. I have a sanctuary at home that's where I pray. I'm I've been praying quite a quite a bit lately, so that's my way of practicing.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm actually Buddhist myself, and I also have a sanctuary at home where I pray as well. So I want to sort of move to talking about like your education as a kid. So tell me a little bit about like your early educational experiences in elementary and middle school, and if you can remember what schools you attended, and were there any teachers or experiences during this early schooling that inspired you, like academically or maybe even non-academically?
Okay. So my middle school year and my early childhood, I spent it in China. I came here when I was 16. So I pretty much finished my elementary school and middle school in China. Then I moved on to United States and I went to Sharpstown High School in Houston. So I spent my 3 years in Sharpstown High School. My early school years were very traditional Chinese schooling, which is like you they stuff everything in your brain and pray and hopefully that you are going to do well in exams. I always excel in my exams. My father and mother has a high expectation from me, and being the only girl of the family. My family is actually quite liberal, comparing speaking, to the tradition that we have that we value boys more than girls. But my family is a little different. Starting from my grandfather, he always treat me the same as the boys in of the family. I received the same education, same value in teachings, everything. I would say the same. Whatever my uncles can provide and aunties can provide to my cousins, I actually have it too. My grandfather, he said that he trains me as much as he trains the other boys in terms of business trades and things like that. My although my parents they grew up they were jade sculptors, but my family is very business oriented. We have a long history doing businesses. My great grandfather went into trade in antiques, and my grandfather, one of the other side, the grandfather on my paternal side, was actually a tailor for the wealthies. So for a long time, our family has been doing lots of businesses. So they actually extend that education, extend that kind of concept to me. So so I did not grow up just in aesthetic environment, but also in a very business oriented environment as well. Growing up in elementary school and middle school, I've always received trainings in art, not just by my parents' work side, but also they sent me to art programs for me to take on classes from different art teachers. So I studied different forms of art. I learned drawing, um, painting, Chinese water painting. I even won a national award, uh, a gold award when I was 9 years old. So art has always been there. However, because the academic load has got heavier and heavier, I had to let that go during my middle school age.
Just out of curiosity, what's unique about Chinese water painting?
I think it's a paper. I think the pigment is pigment, right? Pigments are the same, but it's the paper that we use that makes it unique. For many, many years, in people's mind, when we talk about Chinese watercolor, they always talk about black and white because we always use ink. Actually, it only happened after the Song Dynasty that we use more ink versus color pigmentation. But before that, in the Tang Dynasty, we actually use a lot of mineral pigments mixed with the gums. And so they would stick on the walls. So if we go back to Dunhuang, the cave, I'm sure that you know about that. The Dunhuang, there are paintings and that painted with those pigmentations um, that last for thousands of years. And but because it was sort of lost it in the history. So we are not well known for it. We are more well known for the ink, the black and white watercolor. But I think it's about time to bring it back. I'm excited. I'm actually working on something that hopefully I could step into it so we could revisit this material, this medium.
That sounds actually really amazing, and I'm excited to see that in the future. So I wanted to also talk about like immigration. So when did you move to the US and what prompted you to do so?
I moved to the US in year 2000, so that marks my 24th year living in the United States. So I actually live here longer. I can call myself a Houstonian. uh, I live here longer than I live in China. Um, and I came right after graduation of middle school, so I started with my high school here. What prompted me coming was our family from my mother's side. They have a long history of immigration or going overseas for work or for we call it one sick, meaning seeking for food, right? In order to seek food, you need to work and do that. So they have a long history. I think back in the Qing Dynasty, which is about 300 years ago, we the family, the village, already well known for leaving the home country and going out. So my great, I want to say six generations coming from me, 6 generations ago, my great grandfather was one of the pioneers that came to the United States, and he became a laundryman. So he came right before the Chinese Exclusion Act back in 1904. Yes, yeah, 1904, 1914. I think that was the Chinese Exclusion Act. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then he went back to China because there's no way that he could settle over here. So he went back in his mid 40s, and he lived rest of his life in China for the last 40 years of his life. He died around 80 or so. So I recently found out about that. I didn't know about that. And then later on, one of his grandson, which is my grandmother's brother, came to the United States. I wanted to say right around World War II time. So he came and he brought along his other brother and his other sister in the 80s. So he came to the United States during World War II, and then he married to a Caucasian woman. And however, they did not have any children, but he brought along his brother and sister around the 80s. So my grandmother actually came here um, in back in 1987. It took her more than 10 years for her to become US citizen, and finally she can apply for my mother. It took a long time for the application to be processed. So we finally came in year 2020, what? Year 2000. Year 2000. Yep.
Wow, that was you guys really do have like a long history of immigration. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was wondering like what were some challenges that you faced when you first came to America?
First of all, it was the language barrier, of course. I remember the first day I came, people asked me what my name was, um, how old I was. It took me seconds for me to process that and change that into English and respond back. It was the cultural difference. I remember that when I first settled in, um, the place that I live in Sharpstown, however, supposedly to be Chinatown. But for some reason, I did not meet any Chinese. The people who helped me out was actually Vietnamese. I met a group of Vietnamese girls, and they helped me out. They showed me where to go get lunch, how how to take classes, choose classes, and they eventually took me to Ocean Palace, and that's where I started my first part-time job. So so people from our community, the Asian community, actually lend out their hands. And then later on, I met a boy from Taiwan at the time. So so even though there was huge cultural differences from the greater community, the greater Houston community, but I still received uh, assistance, hands, help from the Asian community as a whole. So I'm really grateful for that. That was the biggest challenge.
That sounds really lovely, actually. I like how you said that, like, despite like the differences between the Asian community, you guys were all able to like gather together and help each other out. And since you're mentioning Ocean Palace, my cousin's family friend used to run the place. And so I'm curious as to like what was your experience like working at Ocean Palace?
Oh, Ocean Palace was my first job. It was exciting. So I get to push cart. So I get to sell dim sum. And before, so they always open early, but the second layer they open up a little later, right? So before we start selling the dim sums and everything else, we always help out in the kitchen, and it was a very different experience, I wanted to say. I was not allowed to go work before, but now came to United States for some reason. I told my dad, I told my mom, hey, I said my classmates said that I could go help out, do a part-time job on Saturdays, and they just let me do it on Saturdays and Sundays, and it was fun. And then later on, I got after I my English has got better. I got a job at a OBGYN office as a front desk person, receptionist, and I started out over there a year later.
Yeah. So I know that you mentioned like the Asian American community, but were you able to find like a Chinese American community when you first arrived in Houston, or was it more so just like a general Asian American community?
I could because of Ocean Palace and also because of the OBGYN office. I met at that time mostly people from Taiwan or from the same village that not village, but region that my grandma's from. So they're Cantonese and Taiwanese. At that time, there was not that many people from mainland or northern mainland side, but I was still able to uh, um, receive some supports from them and thrive, can continue to thrive.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. So I'll now start to talk more about your education. So I'm gonna ask like what college did you attend and what year and what did you major in?
I went to University of Houston in year 2003. Yes, 2003 or maybe four. I cannot remember. I want to say I graduated in '03, so I'm starting probably summer of 2003. I first went to University of Houston for interior design degree, but then I later on switched to business. So I received a bachelor and a master in accounting from University of Houston in year 2009. Now I'm back to U of H for my post-bachelor degree in fine art. So art has always been my passion. Recently, I have the opportunity going back after, I think I want to say I have to thank my husband. So for his business has got more stable. We could have more means to support me through another degree. So in 2022, I decided to go back to U of H to pursue my art degree. Um, and so I'll be graduating in spring of 2025.
Oh, so that's pretty soon. Oh my
Yeah, one more
God.
semester.
Yes, congratulations. Well, I'm saying this
Thank you.
early, but congratulations in
Thank
advance.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, I see that. So you choosing to pursue fine arts and also business, would you say that your family growing up, like they had a big influence on why you chose those two areas?
Yes, I have to say that yes. My family does value um, the business trait, uh, that aspect. That's why I pursue accounting. However, I did not like accounting after I graduated. So I only worked probably 2 years in accountancy. And then I became a salesperson in cosmetics. So why cosmetics? So I thought cosmetics has something to do with beauty and art. So I went to Macy's and sell cosmetics for Christian Dior. The brand that I represented was Christian Dior. In 3 years, I became one of the sales directors in the region. So I managed all the counters in dealers for Christian Dior, which gave me a, a a very good experience in terms of selling, in terms of communication, management between our teammates, something that I'm still using nowadays. And then later on, I got married to my husband and had our kids. So I stopped working for dealers and we started our business in year 2016 until now, and it's a dental office. So still using the all the concept that I learned from accounting, all the practices that I learned from uh, the selling, and doing it day in and day out.
That sounds great. So, what were some defining moments that you had in college?
Some defining moments that I had in college. Um, I wanted to say it had a lot to do with my most recent years that I went back to U of H for my bachelor degree in fine art. The reason that I have to say this because for fine art, back in the days, or actually in a lot of Asians' mind, we are craftsmen. We do something to beautiful, something aesthetic to please people, right? Back in the days, you please the king. Later on, you please the wealthies. But nowadays, in modern world, especially in the Western world, um, art is not only an object or objects to please people. It should represent somebody's ideas. So going back to your age in the Bachelor in Fine Art program, I learned that artists should represent someone's voice, whether it's to represent the artist's voice or the community voice, somebody's voice. So it will almost always had a concern in some issues. So because of that, I start looking inward into myself. What is my voice? What is it that I wanted to say? Remember growing up as a Chinese girl, even though my family is, I would say, quite liberal compared to most Chinese families, they're more conservative, but I did not have a voice. I did not know what I wanted to say. And the early years after I settled in Houston, again, my our objective is to survive. I we until we feel like we are able to survive, we don't have a say of life, right? Because all your mind is to fighting for survivorship. So I think that was a defining moment that I need to look into myself. What is it that I want to say? What's my concern? What's our community's concern? Is does our community have a concern? Is there a gap that we need to bridge? So those are the questions like those are the questions that I'm asking myself every single day now.
I think I'll have to start asking myself those questions too, honestly. Yeah. It seems like you tend to do a lot of like introspection and thinking on your own, but have you ever had any guidance or like any mentors to help you with like art and the art process and just like thinking in general?
Absolutely, absolutely. I took, I appreciate a lot of people before me that they will take me in and helping me forming who I am in terms of art. I work with William Miller, who is a fourth generation Houstonian from the third ward. So he used to specialize in uh, African American art back in the 80s and 90s. I just recently visited Ronald Hotgrove studio. He was the first Houstonian artist that occupied the entire ground, the second floor, actually the second floor in the Contemporary Art Museum in Houston. And also I have people from the community that actually take me alongside. For example, I work with people in Austin, uh, Austin Chinese American Network, Asian American for Justice in Austin, that they work with me on forming my thoughts and my ideas into exhibitions. And also there are people from that, like I have more involvement with the Committee of 100. Um, I'm involved in the Next Generation Leadership Program. So there are people that from the same cohort that actually work with me and bringing up our projects. So I appreciate everybody's help along the way and defining who I am today.
That's great. The Next Generation Project, is that what it's
Mhm,
called?
mhm.
Can you tell me more about it?
Okay. Um, Committee of 100 is an organization formed back in 1989, I wanted to say, and they have a dual mission. So one of the mission is to foster a better Chinese-U.S. relation, and the other is to promote Asian American, especially Chinese American status, social status in the United States. So in this year, 2024, April this year, I'm I'm very fortunate to be selected being one of the Next Generation Leaders program. So there's a cohort that have people from all over the states and get together, and we have surfacing project for 1 year. So during this project, my cohort, my teammates and I, we decided to do a project that will feature the Asian American bachelors who were actually the military personnel, whether they are they're still, existing personnels or they are the past personnels. We feature uh, some of them on our project. So that's how I got into do a painting for Sabu Dastagar, who now the painting is collected by the Air Force Art Collection Program and also being permanently displayed at the Pentagon in the World War II section, the World War II hallway. So it's a great, great honor. And he's a South Asian. He is the first South Asian being highlighted in the entire Pentagon program. So very, very honored to be the painter for that painting.
That sounds so amazing. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. And now that you're about to like graduate from the fine arts program, could you tell me about like your experience like going back to school and like how that has been?
It's hard. I have a business to run, right? With my husband. I have two boys. Luckily, I have my mother. She's a part of this great supporting system. I have my father-in-law and mother-in-law that occasionally help out when my mom become unavailable. So because of that, I am able to go back to school. And in the beginning, I was able to only take two classes, and but because I start the professional program, I have to start the 9 hours straight, so I could graduate a little sooner. The professional program was actually amazing. The I want to say the teachers and the professors, they really took the time and trained us on how to become or how to practice your own art if you already graduated as an artist, a practicing artist. So we basically have to spend 2 days, Tuesdays and Thursdays at the school. We have a studio. We're supplied with a studio, and professors will give you projects. Mostly those projects are the projects that represent you. And they come to talk to you about techniques, about concepts, about what you could do, go further, and they do everything that they can to push you further. So I wanted to thank them for that. I learned a lot from that program. I think it's a program that I would always miss as a practicing artist. Um, that was I think that was one of the most amazing things that I experienced in the last 2 years in the fine arts program.
So now we'll be talking about your career and involvement in different communities. So when and how did you decide to pursue your current career of co-owning two dental practices? And what about social entrepreneurship with visual art?
Can you repeat your question?
Yeah, so when and how did you decide to pursue your current career? It said that you currently co-own two dental practices and you're currently doing social entrepreneurship with visual art.
Well, um, I cannot say I co-own, right? I technically I am because I'm the wife of the dentist. Um, because the uniqueness of dentistry, I cannot own a dental practice, but I growing up as a entrepreneur family, right? I always wanted to own something, to build something of my own. I have to say that running a dental office gave me the opportunity to learn how to run an individual practice um, that could lead me to to leap forward with my own practices. So last year in 2023, it was the year that the Texas legislature started out something affecting the home ownership for Chinese Texans. That is when I start getting more involved into our community's uh, advocacy. Um, and then getting more involved of our community's advocacy at that time. And also that has also a lot to do with my schooling, right? Like I said, what is my voice? What's my community's voice? And I start realizing that there is a gap. There are many gaps. Number one, there are gaps between our community, the Asian community, and the community at large, meaning the Texans, the other Texans, right? There's a gap between no matter whether it was culture or it was history, there's a gap between us and them as a whole, right? And the second gap that I found was the early settlers who came before the World War II, like my great great grandfather, right? And then they came in, they have their offspring, they have children passing along their children. I would call them the early settlers, and between them and the most recent 20 years, especially the last 10 years, there's this gap between them and us, especially the last 10 years after I wanted to say after the year two, year 2010, there was a flush of Asian American coming to Texas and settle in. I realized that they don't necessarily share the same concepts with the early settlers, and they don't necessarily know the history about the early settlers. So I realized that there's because of these two gaps, someone needs to bridge it. Someone needs to be in between to close the gap. And and I hope that I will be that person to do that. And I feel like I have the ability to work on that. Like I said early on, when I first came to Houston, I received tons of help from people from other communities. I make friends with people from all cultures. Um, I may allies with them, make friendship with them. So I feel like I could be the person to bridge the gap, especially in art, using art and culture. In art, many Asians do not value art the same. Actually, and many cultures don't value art the same. And but art, it's actually very powerful. It moves people. Um, because of that, I think there's a great need that needs to be filled. So that's why in 2024, I decided to start the Asian American Art and Culture Initiative to create opportunity to do two things. Number one is to amplify our community voice. Number two is to become the incubator for new artists, such as myself. Um, I believe in creating opportunities. I do not wait along. I do not like to wait for the opportunity to fall on my laps. So I believe in creating my own events, my own exhibitions, which I think it leads to a right direction. And because of that, because of this idea, it actually landed me several exhibitions, the opportunity to show our history and our art. For example, I have the first one coming up is in May of 2025 in Austin Central Library. We are going to showcase the Chinese American history through videography, through sculpture, through installation, through paintings and music. Yes, we have invited people from overseas. My curator is a renowned international curator based out in London. And she invited another artist, which is a composer and musician. She's going to, I'm very excited. She's going to dedicate a song just for the early settlers who came to United States and doing the railroads. So we're excited about that. We also landed another exhibition opportunity with the Houston Central Library. It's called the Besides Math. That is actually focusing on our younger generation, our younger artists. So most of them are the second generations of immigrants, and we want to hear their voice. So we are the so-called normal, I mean the model minority, right? So we are good at math. However, besides math, what else? What else do we know? What else are we good at? So that's why we named this exhibition besides math. So I'm very excited to see what they represent, what they are going to tell us. Um,
I'm
and
actually extremely excited too. When is this going to take place?
it's going to be in September of 2025.
Oh.
So yeah, most of the works are already done, but we might be, getting a few more from them. But I'm very excited about that. I think our youngsters, our younger generation needs an opportunity to showcase their work. So being in the central library is perfect opportunities for us.
I think it's so amazing that this organization is giving a chance to like all kinds of artists to showcase their work and like have a voice in these spaces. And I'm assuming you have the role as president.
Yes.
So what is expected of you as like being president and what kind of tasks do you do and
So right now, we have three board of directors. They are from Austin, Houston, and also Dallas. So my goal is to bridge all these three cities for these exhibitions, and I receive help from them. However, as the president, I'm responsible for the daily operation, um, fundraising, they looking for grants, looking for opportunities to showcase writing out lots of proposals for exhibitions and seek opportunity to collaborate with other communities, which we might be landing another opportunity coming up with the other community. I will keep it as a secret for now. When I land it, I'll make an announcement.
sounds amazing. I'll be looking forward to hearing that. So, what? makes you so passionate about your career? Because I can sense like a lot of passion, a lot of love for it. And what about your job like makes you so passionate? Like what do you love seeing?
I think that I'm excited to see because number one, I am a appreciator growing up as so I love art in the beginning. Number two is that however I had to change my course for not pursuing art, right? So this is my second time pursuing art as my career. Um, Number three is I think it's the love for my community. I have two children. I want to make them feel more at home. Like this is really their home, right? Um, I feel like by doing more of this, they will find a sense of belonging here in the United States. I want to help them to fight their cultural identity issue. Because growing up, I've heard that lots of American-born Chinese or maybe Asian-born Chinese, Vietnamese, they have issues growing up finding their identity. So I really want them to be proud of who they are and who they represent. I wanted to say it's the love for the community and our future generation that keeps me moving. And on the other hand is I would like to see how far we can go as a community artist because as you know, Asian artists always have hard time, even surviving. I wanted to know how far we could go as a community.
I think that's really lovely, especially when talking about your kids. I think a lot of parents don't really acknowledge that like their children might face like identity issues regarding like, am I American? Am I Chinese, etc. I think it's really lovely that you take that into account and like use that as your motivation. And so conversely, I'm wondering like what's the most challenging or frustrating part of your career?
The most challenging part is to break into the art world because there's a lot of establishment already. As an outsider, breaking into the art world is not easy, but that's why um, the AAACI, the Asian American Art and Culture Initiative, was created. Um, I have to thank my degree in accounting that I know how to find out solutions for a problem. Um, so that's why we are creating our own exhibition, partnering with different venues. Um, I think that America is a true place for opportunities. You have an idea, you find out opportunities, you pursue it, you get it. I think the early success for the AACI is a true example for that. We only existed for a few months. Of course, if you counting on like the preparation and everything, we are almost like a year old, right? But for like formality, we started in May of 2024. So, but we have already landed several opportunities to exhibit, and we're working with international artists, and we're getting recognition by many places. One of them I'm really proud at is getting the support from Humanity Texas. So it's a federal grant. They are supporting our Roots Unveil exhibition in Austin, which I take pride for doing that, for having that. I think that that's the biggest challenge is to break into the art world, getting recognition, and getting the job done. I believe in hard work. I don't mind rolling up my sleeves and getting things done. But so little by little, it's being done, and we will continue to thrive.
Thank you so much. So now I'll be asking you about your family and your personal life. So could you tell me about how you met your spouse?
My husband was actually, oh, it was funny. He was my dentist in to begin with, but but he was a good friend of his receptionist. So I'm a good friend of the receptionist as well. So we actually met each other on another occasion another occasion, and that's how we formally introduced to each other. So that's how we met. Um, and then later on, just like everybody else, we dated for 2 years, and we got married. Soon after, we start having our family. We have two boys. One is 9 and one is 7. Um, they are attending school in Sugarland.
Yeah, so how important is it for you to educate your sons on their ethnic heritage?
It's very important for us. So they are going to Chinese school. They are start getting the hang of it, I believe. After all these years, spending there. I often talk to them the differences between us and the other culture. We talk about respecting the other culture. I let them know that they were born here, so they are born to be American, but they are Chinese American. Um, Chinese is not about a country, about a government, is about your heritage, the language that we share, the food that we share, the traditions that we share. We talk about all of those. And so this time when we went to the Pentagon for the unveiling ceremony, we took them along as well. So they first hand witnessed what happened in the Pentagon. And so they understand that it's the ceremony, the whole project was very inspiring to someone look like the person on the painting. Um, the Air Force actually invited cadets from the Air Force Academy and the ROTC. It was very formal. They all went, and it's the first time for them seeing someone look like them on the painting on the wall. It makes them proud, and it makes them continue to drive forward and to continue to serve our nation. My boys, they are, even they're younger, but they are getting the idea of they should be proud of who they are. And that's, I was want to say that's my way of fighting the the identity issue for the younger generation.
I think that's really great, honestly. And how close are you with your parents and your family today?
I'm very close to them. My dad lives in China. Um, he had to take care of my grandma. She's 94, going 95 years old. She's very old. So my dad has to live there. My mom, besides COVID, she always go back to visit. But because of COVID, I haven't seen my family over there for the last 5 years already. Yeah, yeah. The last time I was there was 2019, right before COVID. Yep. So hopefully we are able to go back to see them this summer, upcoming summer. I have a very close relationship with my mom and my dad. We share a lot of our daily life together. My dad is one of my greatest supporter. I wanted to say he's my first fan in my art career, and my husband is my patron. So my yeah, my husband is my patron. Yeah, they are my first supporting system of this whole journey.
It's amazing. I like how you continue to be close to your family, even though there's a geographic difference. And also, I just want to ask, how do you manage your time? Like,
Oh, it's hard. Prioritizing what's important. So for me, the school is important. The dental office is important. Um, and trust your subordinates. So trust them with what to divert some of the tasks to them, right? Build a supporting system, no matter it's a family or it's your classmates or it's your coworkers, build a supporting system. Also letting go social opportunities, social events, which I feel guilty for doing that. I haven't seen some of my classmates for like, back in accounting time, those classmates for a long time. I have to cut those, really focus on getting the important stuff done and spending time with the kids. So sometimes they spend time with me when I'm painting, getting them involved in the projects that we do. So my older one, Jaden, actually helped me doing research for the project with Sabu's painting. I asked him how help me do some research on the uniform color and also on the airplane that he rode on, things like that. So getting them involved. Yeah.
That's really great. And now we're going to be moving into the final part of the interview, which is talking about identity and perspectives. So, how do you identify yourself ethnically?
I will be always Chinese American.
Or, okay. And what do you feel most proud of?
I am proud of I am proud of our culture. I am proud of our history. I am proud of our willpower of living or continue to adventure in the land of America. Um, I think I'm also proud of our strength. Of course, there are weaknesses, right, in our community, as communities always do. But I do see the silver lining. I do see that we will come together and overcome those differences, those and also those challenges.
Do you have like a piece of art that you're really proud of, like that's your favorite that you've worked on? Or is it
I have
difficult?
many. I have many.
You can tell me some of them.
You want me to share that with you with the screen, or you want me to, actually, it might be better if I share those with you on a different format. I have pictures.
You could probably email me the pictures and you
Yeah.
could like tell me about it right now.
Oh, sure. Let me pull them up on my phone and then I can tell you all about them. Mm, of course, I have to be proud of Sabu Sasker's painting, which is the painting that is now on a permanent display. It has his permanent home in the Pentagon. So it will always be the highlight of my career. It's the first, right? But always will be the most important. Um, that's Sabu's painting. Sabu is a very brave man. He was a Hollywood star before he became the Air Force tail gunman. So he took on a very risky position being the tail gunman because he's very exposed out there and it's easily for him to get shot at. But he was able to excel in both positions, whether he was a Hollywood star or when he was a tail gunman. So he's a very inspiring person himself. That painting actually represents the honor that he received. Uh, it represents the braveness that he was. So that has to always be my crown jewel. The other painting that I wanted to show you is this one. I call it the restaurant. This is actually going to be shown in the Austin Central Library upcoming. So it's the reference was from a watercolor painting in the Song Dynasty, where people gather together and having a good time in a square table like that. So I got inspired, and also I got inspired by pictures that I found in the Austin Archive Center. That the early settlers they came and they became restaurant owners. So they took pictures during that time. So many people, Americans, actually came to the Chinese restaurants for fine dining experiences. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And because of that, I was like, wow, maybe I could actually paint them into make them into a painting. So I did that one. Um, this one actually is also inspired by the history of Chinese Texans. So I think more than 100 years ago, or I think it was back in the 1870s, the Chinese American first came and settled in Texas because of the railroad. They came to build a railroad, and that's when they first celebrate the first Chinese New Year at that time with the dragon dance. And then the building, right here, this corner, was actually the oldest Chinese restaurant in Austin. It's called Samwa. And yeah, through my research, I combined these two events together, and I think that's a good representation of the Asian American, the Chinese, who first settled in Texas back in the 1800, the mid 1800. So I call it the arrival. Later on, we settling in the dinner one, with the restaurant. It's a settling. So it's actually like a timeline. I did that according to a timeline, and I have several that I can later on show you um, what they really represent in my mind and why I painted them. So I started with the early settlers, with the settlement, and then I have a scene that everybody's doing a karaoke. The 90s, back in the 90s, I don't know if you're aware, in Houston, there was, or early 2000, in Houston, is some place called Cashbox, where, yeah, I think the building is still there, the shopping center is still there, but they changed the business already. So it was a karaoke, everybody just having a good time, and they sing, and it was a karaoke that they're still doing it in a not in the room setting, so it's in like a what's that called, like a meeting room, or like a conference, not a conference room, it's like a ballroom setting, right? Instead of like individually privately rented room setting. So I painted that, and then I also later on I painted another restaurant scene that everybody mingled together, standing in line and getting their noodles. Um, yeah, those are some of my proud moments. I have one more that I could probably show you. This one is also, I hold this one very, very dearly. This one has received an international merit award. Um, I think in 2023, I painted that one in 2022, inspired by a photo. My son's was actually going for a little small adventure with my father-in-law, and it was during COVID time. So remember COVID time, everybody was inside, right, a lot. So it was right after we received the vaccines. So during that summer, we drove down to Corpus Christi, and like finally we have a little moment to ourselves that we can enjoy the nature with the family. So I took that picture, that photo after they climb up a little hill and they saw the harbor of Corpus Christi, and so I named this painting Hope. Like, wow, we now, like like after a long COVID, like a devastating period of COVID, now we finally have hope. So that was quite some moment too.
So beautiful. If you could send me these later, that would be really amazing. And I want to ask, when and where do you feel most at home?
When and where I feel most at home. My kitchen, my kitchen. I don't cook a lot. I actually don't cook enough, but um, I painted my kitchen. I can send it to you too.
Yes, that's really lovely.
I painted my kitchen. I think kitchen is where everybody gathering. I think for our culture, the Asian culture, food is very important, right? Um, our grandma, grandpa, they make food to remind them of who they are, of our culture, of our heritage. People growing up eating different kinds of food. Even though we bring food from home, right? We try to make the same type of cuisine at home, but because of the environment, the water, we call it the water, the earth is being different here. Um, we eat differently, right? They are always modified too. So I think the kitchen is also my sanctuary. This is where we show our love. My mom worked tirelessly in my kitchen and feed my boys. That's where we have our gathering. That's where we have our dinner, lunch, breakfast. So I would say the kitchen is where I feel mostly at home. And I will have an exhibition, hopefully, I'm working on my other thesis that related to food. And I've been listening to a podcast says that how immigrant women uh, gain control of their life through food. Yeah, I think it's a very
Really
interesting topic.
interesting.
It's a very interesting topic, and I found myself painting a lot of food as well, or a setting of food. It represents different kind of emotions. So I will be working on that as my, hopefully I'll have a solo exhibition soon.
I hope so too. That sounds amazing. Now, if your sons were to watch this interview in the future, what is a message you would want to leave for them?
Wow. I would say to be always to be true to themselves. Do not let anybody tell them who they cannot be. And I will always support them to be who they want. And as long as they're not hurting anybody and do what they want, as long as they're not hurting anybody and including themselves. I've said it to Jaden once, but I will say it to him and Triton one more time uh, that always to be true to themselves.
That's really amazing. Is there anything you would like to add to this interview that we haven't covered yet?
I think you've covered almost everything in my life.
Yay! This was really, really great. Thank you so much for being here and for telling me about yourself. I feel like I've learned a lot about the Chinese American and Chinese Houston community and art. So the interview will end here. Thank you so much for your time. We will be sending you a cleaned up transcript once we're done so you can look over it and um and just like approve of it being
Sure.
published. So
Sure, I think that sounds good, and I will send you those pictures soon. Hopefully, there will be more added to my journey, right, in the future.
yes.
I hope to create more exhibitions and historical cultural events. I think that's very important to me that our younger generation learn about this.
Yes. Okay, I will